Let's talk about the vegan thing a little bit more. See, I keep getting these comments from people who are confused on why I'm a vegan. People think that I became a vegan because of my wife. They think I became a vegan because of animal rights or things like that. Totally not true. I want to share this comment that in case you're new to this channel and don't understand why I'm actually a vegan, let me read this comment. I did a video called, "What if I am the unwanted answer to your hair loss prayers?" And about 36 Greeks had this to say, quote, "Very similar to my story. I have an autoimmune disease and I was struggling for about a year and a half. I went vegan for a month ago, and half of my symptoms are gone, as well as I'm off of half of my medication," end quote. So that was a comment that I just got today. And look, if you're new to my channel, please know that's the reason I'm a vegan. It has nothing to do with my wife. It has nothing to do with animals, saving animals. No. I am a horrible person. I'm not a good person. I'm a bad person, okay? Because I don't care enough about animals not to eat them. It's because I'm selfish. That's the reason I'm a vegan. I'm selfish. I want to be very clear about that, okay? Now here, to be specific, I need to take you to the place where I was, okay? So follow with me, okay? I'm 37, we all know that. But back when I was 12, 1993, something changed in me. Yes, I was going through puberty, true. And probably as my body was changing, that's around the time my nose started growing in crooked, because my nose is, to my knowledge, never been broken. So during all these things happening in 1993 when I'm 12, something happened where I couldn't breathe anymore out of one side of my nose. And I finally discovered if I laid down, it would sort of go away, but then go to the other side. It was this sinus pressure that I could never go. Have you ever experienced that? Like if you get a cold or something and you just can't breathe out, you blow your nose, but nothing comes out. That's, the sinus pressure. Imagine having that for 20 years or more. Because I had it from basically age 12 until age 32. I couldn't breathe out of my nose consistently. It was completely stopped up with that pressure, okay? And I was constantly getting sinus infections. So I would get fevers and I'd be coughing up stuff. I'd be draining from my sinuses going to my chest, coughing it up. Severe headaches. Days that I just really couldn't go to school when I was in school, or I couldn't go to work some days over this. Anytime anything happened in the air with pollen or whatever, it would just completely wreck me, okay? 20 years of my life. Now, the most recent 10 years of that 20-year span, from the time I was in college around 2002 until the time I turned 32, I guess, was when I became a vegan, around that time, I had Dyshidrotic eczema. I'm gonna spell this for you because I want you to know this is a real / rare thing. Dyshidrosis. Dyshidrosis or Dyshidrotic eczema is where on your hands, and you can Google that with my name and you'll see my blog post where I show a picture of my hand when it wasn't even at its worst. But imagine if all over your hands it turns red and there's these little blisters that pop up and they're really itchy all the time, and then if you pop it, water comes out and then it just like dries up, gets dehydrated and burned. It's like having burned hands all the time. And then it just continually spreads. It got so bad, my hands started getting like this, and I could barely use a computer keyboard. That's how my hands were. And it was going to other parts of my body too, like my toes as well. So I was living with all of that, plus all the sinus stuff, not being able to breathe. Plus I was allergic to animals, like cats, dogs. If I was in the same room, I'd be itching and scratching and coughing and have a headache the rest of the day, okay? So imagine, that was my life. All the sinus and stuff for 2 decades, and then all of the dyshidrosis stuff, the eczema, for a decade of that, okay? You can't go to the doctor for these things. You can go get cream, it doesn't do anything for the dyshidrotic eczema. You can take a bunch of pills to try to stop this stuff, and maybe it helps certain sinus infections. But in case, do you think Nick Shell is gonna live as a slave to Big Pharma his whole life to try to stop this? And I tried some in college, it didn't actually change anything. It only helped a little bit as long as I was using it, but then it had other side effects for my sinus problems. Okay, so that is why I'm a vegan. Now imagine 5.5 years ago, I decided on a whim, what if I just go vegan? So that's ultimately what I did. Now, leading up to that, I had already been kosher, which is no pork, no shellfish. And that kind of led into really I wasn't eating much meat anyway. So then eventually it came to the point where one weekend I was like, okay, no meat, no eggs, no dairy. Let's just see what happens. And you know how the story ends. By the end of the weekend, I'm gonna call it plasma. It was like this red, thick snot-ish stuff just started draining out of my nose for a whole weekend. I just kept, like it was some kind of weird horror movie, and it just kept coming out and I'd like pull it out. It was red. It was like a baseball capacity size that was in my sinuses that over the course of the weekend came out. Once the weekend was over, my skin started clearing up, and suddenly I felt the ability to breathe out of both sides of my nose again. And I'm not allergic to animals anymore. I can pet cats and dogs and nothing happens. I don't sneeze, my eyes don't itch or water, my throat, nothing happens. So that's the reason I'm a vegan. It has nothing to do with me being kind to animals. It has nothing to do with my wife. My wife isn't a vegan, by the way. My wife is a vegetarian. She became a vegetarian after I did. Notice that first I stopped eating pork and shellfish, then she followed. I became a vegetarian, she followed. Vegan, she's cut out most dairy. We don't have like dairy products or eggs in our house, but she will occasionally have some dairy products. So my wife is not a vegan. I'm the only vegan in my house. My kids and my wife are vegetarians, but I am the only vegan in this house, okay? It has nothing to do with my wife, has nothing to do with the animals. It has nothing to do with me trying to be a moral person. I'm selfish. I had a bunch of health problems and they all went away. That's the only reason. I don't care if people believe me or not. That's not important to me. It's completely me being self-centered, selfish. I'm a vegan so that I don't have all those health problems. If I ever went back to eating eggs and dairy and meat, my health problems would return. So with all that being said, I'm doing the best I can to up my protein intake through plant-based things so that I can hopefully not be overweight anymore, because if ultimately it sounds like I'm not getting enough protein, and that's why I'm producing extra fat, because my body is thinking, well, if you're not getting enough protein, we need to supply fat if you're about to go through a famine. Okay, so if you were me, honestly, would you invite back all those health problems just so that you can try to slim down? Well, if you would, I don't care. That's your life. Do whatever you want to do. I'm a libertarian. I don't care what you do. As long as you're not hurting other people, do whatever you want to do. Nick Shell is a vegan because of health problems that no longer exist and would come back if I went back to eating animal products. Nothing to do with my wife. She's not even a vegan. Nothing to do with the animals. I am selfish. There's the truth on why Nick Shell is a vegan. Now everyone knows the truth. If you have any questions, you can leave them here, but you probably won't leave questions. You'll probably say things like, I'm not a true alpha male, I'm a beta because I'm a vegan. And fair enough. You know, if it ever came to it, yes, I would totally pick up a gun and I'd start shooting and killing animals and eating them, if that's what it came to. But so far, it hasn't come to that, and I can keep eating vegan food, so I'm going to keep doing that. And I'm going to keep being able to breathe out of my nose and not have my hands constantly on fire all the time. That's my choice. Has nothing to do with the rest of the world. I don't want anyone else to be a vegan. Though coincidentally, Maxwell Smart, who's one of my subscribers, he became a vegan after he heard my story. But I didn't ask him to be. I'm not asking you to be. In fact, I've got one thing I need you to do. I need you to go to Burger King. I need you to get a double Whopper, and I need you to get some of those chicken fries, and I need you to eat them. Then after that digest, go to Arby's and get the biggest roast beef, which is really just like roast beef bologna. It's not real roast beef. Eat it all. Then this weekend, go to Outback and get a steak and eat it. That's how much I don't care if anyone else is a vegan. It is a completely self-centered decision. I don't care what you eat. Nick Shell is selfish. and has health problems if he eats meat again. So he's smart enough not to go back to having health problems. Now everyone knows the truth.